Hello everybody, and the weather's terrible outside and the new Razor's not here yet. But I did get this in the mail. So this is the new radio that I'm going to be installing in the Razor. It's a Midland unit. It's a Micro Mobile series radio, and it's an MXT 275. I'm going to go do an unboxing on this and kind of go over why I chose this, what accessories you may need to have to install this in your Jeep, car, Razor, what have you, and just go over a couple of pointers on communications off-road. Okay, so this is the unit. This is how it arrived to me. I got this on Amazon. They're super cheap. I'll put a link down in the bottom if you want to pick one of these up. So just a couple of real quick things. If you've watched any of my other videos, I'm a licensed ham operator, licensed GMRS operator. For this particular radio, you do need a license. Doesn't require a test or anything. You pay a small amount of money for a relatively long license term. Real easy to get. Highly recommend that you do it. Here locally in my area, we have repeaters set up, which is really nice. It really extends your range. So here when I'm riding locally in the area, all I really got to do is key up on that repeater, and I can pretty much talk everywhere around here. If you're not familiar with my area, I'm in western North Carolina. We have one local park to me. It's about 15 minutes away. And this is going to work out really nice. Now, in my previous Razor, I had a huge, full-on ham radio, mobile in the Razor. Obviously, I've got my DMRs, etc., and I'll still keep those for talking on. So, egg carton style packaging, not a big deal. Comes with a really small manual. Looks adequate as far as telling you what the controls are. Now, the neat things about this radio is just its sheer size. And I can tell you, this is the first time I've opened up the box. So the first thing I was looking for is, man, I really want a radio that I can remove out of my Razor. And I knew that they had a removable mount. I did not know it came with it. So that's a real handy thing. So if you look here, you just basically pry on these, and you can pop this radio out of its mount with ease. And it's a metal mount. The radio body's metal. And it's just got two slots. Kind of standard stuff. You got, you need a PL style cable to connect this up to. I'll get to that in a minute. But one thing you'll notice, this doesn't have a display on it. So this is what's called a headless radio. And it's one of the reasons I want it. In the Razor, I'm spraying water in there. I'm pressure washing, etc. Even if I don't take the radio out, I will probably want to at least disconnect the microphone. So what headless means is all the controls in the display are on the mic. So I can take this out, obviously, and not be worried about getting any of the sensitive things dirty. Now I know that like rugged radios or most of your like mil-spec style businessman radios, they're not necessarily waterproof. They do advertise the waterproof. I can assure you they're not. If you go back and look through my videos, the RM, I don't remember what rugged radio's specification for it is, but it's a TYT 8600. So that's what I had in my Razor. And the weak point on it ended up being the actual mic. So where that connector actually connected on, water will get in there, even though there's no ring, etc. So what you have to do is fill it up with dielectric grease. Now over time, water will actually get all the way back up into the display. My brother had the exact same radio. It only made it a couple of trips, and all it took was one unfortunate blast of a pressure washer, is what we're assuming happened, to completely destroy that radio. So this eliminates the problem. You can keep your radio nice, dry, and fresh. Just because this is small, it's removable, and all of the things you need to expose are here. So this you could put anywhere. Somewhere safe that you wouldn't have to worry about it getting water. Now I did notice this does have a speaker It's a little bit unclear. We may look at the directions here in a second. My understanding is there's actually a speaker in here as well, or maybe this is the primary speaker. That's what I'm hoping, so that I can actually get this hung or close to my ear so I can hear it in the Razor. Razors are pretty loud, and you want to be able to hear what's going on or when you have something. So pretty simple stuff. Actually, it does come with a little mag mount antenna, which would kind of be handy if you needed it. It comes with a sticky, so I think they make a magnetic mount, and then this is, going to be relatively standard. So that basically sticks to something to hold the mic, or you can get the magnetic mount or probably any other mount that you want to use. For quick testing, I probably will not use this in the Razor, but if if you wanted to keep this, remove the radio from your Razor and throw it in your rig, while you're going somewhere, that's probably what I'll use this for, because I can pretty much stick the antenna that it came with on the Dodge, throw this in the seat, put this in the cigarette lighter, and I can use this while I'm traveling to the location. When I get there, pop this in the Razor, all the hookups are already there, it's hardwired, good to go. So I think that'll work out really well. I give you a Midland sticker. So why this radio versus all the other radio products out on the market, especially in the off-road? So you've got PCI, you've got rugged radio, and then obviously you've got a plethora of Chinese-made radios that are mainly in the ham market. All of the PCI rugged radios are not necessarily the exact same radio, because a lot of rugged radios have their intercom built in, but that's something I guess they've contracted either with the manufacturer that makes the Chinese radio, or they've added it at their factory. Why this instead of that? So this is much smaller, it's way less expensive, it has built-in removability, and more importantly, there's a big, huge debate. If you've been paying attention to, especially rugged radios, they've been an ongoing struggle with the FCC. And the main reason, most of the ham folks realize that most of the frequencies that they're using are running on frequencies that are not located in that particular area. Now, there for a long time, they were just putting in frequencies and weren't licensing them. Now, Rugged is actually doing licenses for specific locations in the United States. My particular location is not covered, so I wouldn't be able to transmit on those business frequencies that they put in the radio. Not legal anyway. I know a lot of people do it, but it's not something I was really interested in doing. I already have a GMRS license. I also have a ham license, so I could have used either one of those radios. And I'm familiar with the business licensing. If I wanted to license business licensing, I could. The limitation on the business licensing, it's not a nationwide thing. So I could get a business license for a frequency here in my local area, and I could use it there, and that would be it. GMRS is powerful enough to reach out, and it has a repeater network. And your license that you get allows you to use all the channels. A lot of the repeaters are private only, so you've got to ask that owner or what have you if you can use it. I've never run into one that would not let me use it, just for reference. Most of the time I'm in a Razor, we're doing car-to-car communications. So this is going to be as clear as any other UHF radio. This is UHF. And like I say, it's small, it's easy to use. Generally the people that I ride with, they have GMRS frequencies at least. Now a lot of people are confused. They think, well, I have this radio and it has GMRS and FRS in it. Technically, you are only supposed to use those channels on equipment designed for that particular band. So this is a GMRS. This is designed to work on that band. You can operate this legally with a GMRS license. So that's what I'm doing. None of the other units really offer a headless design. There is one radio in the ham world. I don't remember the name of it right now, but I may try to put a link down in the description. There's one company that is actually manufacturing a headless design that has kind of a standard, I think it's actually an IP67 rated mic, but it doesn't have really, it has some controls and some voice, but it doesn't have a display. Your display is your Android phone or your iOS phone. You can actually program that radio and change frequencies and use the display on your phone to basically fully program that radio and do everything. I thought that was a really cool option. The only thing that turned me off to it is it kind of looks like a retrofit. So this Midland unit is manufactured for this particular purpose. Again, that's one of the reasons I like it. That other unit is basically a full-size Chinese radio with the faceplate replaced with just some extruded aluminum, a couple of LEDs on the front, and a mic port. So it kind of looks a little hokey. It definitely doesn't look waterproof. Not to the degree this looks. This looks fairly sealed. I would not, feel too bad if water got splashed on this. I wouldn't necessarily submerge this or, pressure wash this or something. But the other one, I was actually afraid of even dirt, a lot of dirt and dust getting up in that radio because it's fan driven. If you notice on this one, there is no fan. So every other radio that I've had that's been a mobile has had a fan. This one does not have it. I believe these are 15 watts total. So to give you an idea, most mobile or portable radios are 5 watts. So this is significantly more wattage than a handheld will put out. And it's in a really small package. Okay, so what's the easiest way to get this in your vehicle? Well, I've already showed you one way. This thing pretty much comes as is in the box with what I would consider a temporary antenna and temporary power. So you should be able to buy this, plug it up, and instantly start talking on it as long as you're licensed. What did I do for the Razor? So a couple things. The new Razor, I'll give you a hint as to what Razor that I bought. I bought a Rugged Ridge antenna mount, or technically it's a flag mount. Now these are not going to be direct fit for what antenna style that I got. Luckily I have a big giant CNC 3-axis mill, and pull this out of the bag and take a look. So you've probably seen these before. These are the cross clamps, etc. And here's your hint. This is a 2-inch roll bar mount. And the way this works, you basically have this little stand here where you would normally mount like flagpole, CB whip or something like that that has a 3/4 inch hole. And I'll go over why that won't work necessarily with my antenna without some modifications. So this is designed, it's got little pegs here. This is a cast piece and it fits here. So you put that there, put the bolt through, and you can mount it whatever angle you wanted. So it's square design. I do have a footprint for this infusion, so if I have to I can make a whole new mount. But here's where you run into the issue. So this is a MOMO mount, NMO. I buy the ones that are not terminated on the other side. That way I can feed this through the cage without any problem, and I'll attach the connector later. We'll try it and see. I don't think it's going to work. It generally doesn't. They do make an extended version of this that might, but I didn't feel like kind of experimenting with it. So the way these work is you basically, this is the mount section. So this comes off, and this is the actual, if you kind of see here, let it focus there. So there we go. So you can see it's kind of like a T shape. So you only have this much room, if you can see that gap. Get some focus, there we go. So you can see that gap. So more than likely, and I can just test it here. So this is too thick for that. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to put this in the mill. I'm going to mill off a little bit of material to make this fit in that, and open this space up larger for this to basically go down and clip into. And the way you measure that is basically it needs to be the diameter of this outer piece and the tabs stick out a little bit further. So you want to drill a hole the size of this, of your threaded area here. So things that I'm going to use is that. This, again, not terminated. This is RG 56, or 58, sorry. Yep. So I have connectors that match that style. Now, it won't matter on a razor, but if you were installing this in a Jeep, you can get a MOMO knockout or even a step drill bit, as long as you know what's below you. You can pop this in any metal surface, because if you want to get your really good standing wave, ideally you would want this to be like, you know, somewhere centered on the top of the roof. But one thing I'll mention, if you notice this piece, see that O-ring? Make sure you not flip that backwards. It will go on backwards, but if you don't put that O-ring down to your painted surface that you just drill a hole through, water's going to get in there and bad rusty things are going to happen. Okay, so this is the antenna that I chose. This is inexpensive. I've used this before. You want to make sure it's within the range of GMRS, which this one is. So you can see here the MOMO Mount. It'll basically screw on top of that. It's got its own little weather seal as well to seal the antenna base to the bottom, and it'll actually wrap around your MOMO Mount. But it's black. It'll match the roll cage. It matches the rugged ridge. And I was mentioning those connectors. So there's a lot of different connector styles. I actually don't do a whole lot of PL connections anymore. Most of my stuff's, you know, LMR 400 size cable. But these are the ones that I like, especially for off-road. Because inevitably I'm going to be disconnecting and reconnecting this thing up. You want something you can probably replace in the field, especially if you had to. Now these are solder tip connections, so you can see here, maybe, get some focus going on. There we go. You can see that little, at the very tip where my index finger's at, the conductor will come up through there and you'll fill that full of solder and solder that connection on. Now in a pinch, I have a little thing of low temp solder that you can heat up with a lighter, and it won't last forever, but at least you could field repair that if you needed to. And the way it works is you basically trim it back, and you're putting this little barrel it may not focus. There we go. So you're putting this little barrel in the sheath of the metal. Outer sheath will actually wrap over this, and that'll capture, and this screws into the back. So this is something you can do in like a couple of minutes out in the field if you needed to. I find these have pretty good stress relief, especially if you put a piece of heat shrink up to the big part of that barrel there. It'll keep the cable from bending, because inevitably in every razor that I've owned, you only have like this much space, usually underneath the dash or what have you. So if you've got a radio that's this big, you got this big connector, and you got a wire hanging out the back, that wire is going to be at a relatively sharp bend. So this helps you, you know, protect the wire, because you can put this on there and it gives you enough of a stub sticking out to get heat shrink on to add it as stress relief for the cable. Okay, so the next thing is going to be the wire. You can just go pick this stuff up, right? Well, yeah, you can. But I would, if you are working on an off-road vehicle, especially if it's something you plan on racing or plan on it getting you home at the end of the ride without incident, I really recommend, I think this is, I bought the GXL spec wire this time. There's a couple other ones, other variants that you can use. Actually, I'm going to grab the larger gauge wire, because I think I have some of it exposed. Yeah, there we go. So if you, oh, it's going to come through on camera, but this is not like your shiny PVC wire. That really the PVC has maybe the very outer coating is kind of abrasion resistant. It's definitely not a high temp wire. This has it's almost like a silicone based covering that's super abrasion resistant. I mean, you really got to do some work to abrade this wire to the point of getting to the conductor. And it's high temp wire, so if you're running around the engine compartments, etc., it's not going to burn up like PVC wire and stink up the razor kind of thing. So the wire is really important. So this is my third razor build. That's mine. I've done tons of other people's, but the third one of mine, and I've always used this and never had a single electrical problem with wire. And I've had things happen, especially in that center console. All it takes is, when I did the prop shaft replacement on the 1000S, I had to take a couple of zip ties out. Well, when I first drove it out, I forgot to put those zip ties back, so that wire had scooted out and actually probably contacted the drive shaft while it was spinning. This just got dirty. There were no, it didn't break the insulator, didn't do any damage to it. There's coolant lines in there that get relatively hot. The problem that I've had with PVC, especially on people's razors that I've worked on, is in that tunnel. It gets really hot in there. And you know this because if you put a drink in the cup holder, it'll be boiling in just an hour's worth of riding. So this really helps, especially if you have to get to that center tunnel or anywhere in the engine area. This will not, dry out, get cracky, break off, and generally, age like PVC coated wire will. So again, this is GXL. I'll try to put a link for it if I can find it. I actually ended up getting this cut on eBay. But if you do a search for automotive GXL wire, you should be able to find it in a number of gauges, every color, etc. But this is the best thing to use. Okay, so we're going to run out real quick and give this radio a try to close out the video, see how well it works. Okay, we're out with the radio. Got it plugged in the cigarette lighter. Kind of show you what it looks like hooked up there. So that's what you're dealing with, what I was talking about, the stress relief of the cable. This is the antenna that comes with. So we're just going to kind of set that to the side. Pretty simple operation. This center button here, and I have confirmed the speaker is in the microphone and it's very, very loud. So to turn it on, you just tap this center button up here. It's going to come up into 1. It looks like it has low power, high power, PT tone, so I'm hitting menu just to scroll through the menu. Repeater comes set to off. So, just not even reading the manual, I can kind of tell what's what. You adjust the volume. If you're basically sitting in idle state, you can adjust the volume there. It's fairly loud, which for this application, that's what you want. Because typically you'd have this like mounted on the dash, and the razor, I'm going to try to get this as close to me as I can. I'm just going to monitor some audio to kind of see how loud it is. Let's cut it. So this is on 1. It's pretty loud. The volume controls are adequate. It doesn't actually turn down as nearly as much as I thought. That's as low as it goes, which is probably what you want in a radio. This does have weather channels. I want to kind of see what this ends up being. Control-wise, it's pretty nice. Actually, let's try this. So you can scroll through the weather channels. If you've got it in weather mode, you can scroll with these 2 top buttons.
At Nashville.
There we go. Oh.
It was cloudy with a temperature of 36 at Hickory, 48 at Franklin.
So we've got radio. weather channels built into this. That's one of the things I used my 8600 a lot for, just to kind of check what the weather was. It does have a scan function. I think that's going to come through okay, but you can see that's about the scan speed there. I do not know. I'll have to look up and see what the if you can lock channels out, because that'd be a really handy feature. If you only listen to 2 or 3, if you have a really large group of riders, usually car-to-car communications will be on one channel, which a lot of people will ignore, and then the group channel will be a different one. So if you wanted to scan both, you could lock that down and it would scan really fast between those channels. I don't know if it does it or not, but I'm sure it would be like in a menu. Okay, so you can, if I just hit the lock button and it switches to this on the display, you can flip between. Now the sound is coming out of the radio, and you can actually flip it back to the handset. Now it's back on the handset. So that's kind of cool. So there is a speaker, both in the handset and in the radio. You can flop between the two, which is a pretty convenient feature. Actually, let me check something. That almost sounds like it's coming through both. Okay, so you can, there's 3 settings it appears. Let me just verify that real quick. So that is speaker on the unit only. Yep. So there's 3 settings. You can have both, which may be really convenient, especially if you have the radio up front and you have a 4-seater. You have the mic back to somebody you'll still be able to hear, hopefully. So you can actually set that up however you want. So unexpected feature. It does have an LED here, so if you're transmitting, it'll turn red. You're receiving, it turns green. It's kind of cool. It's amazing what you can miss, especially if you're in like a UTV and you got a full helmet on. Not all that easy to talk on the radio. You may need an intercom system. One thing I'll mention, this does have pretty much your standard speaker microphone. So you could, run an earbud and a speaker into your mask via this port. Use this for your push to talk, and it should work just fine. Okay, so overall, pretty happy with this. I think this is probably the best value, easiest to get up and use, and the only extra thing that you've got to do is get a GMRS license from the FCC. Last time I think I renewed mine, I think I did it all online, so I think you can even do it all online now. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's the way it works now. I'll try to put a link down at the bottom if you're interested in getting your license. I know Midland has some good resources for licensing information for these particular radios. The neat thing about it is you got that one license, you can buy this radio for your Razor, and you can buy any portable GMRS radio or to carry with you out and about. If you're going to ride somewhere, maybe split up for a minute and check out the scenery. Kind of gives you a really easy way to communicate back and forth between people. Okay, that's it for this review. Hopefully, I think the Razor's scheduled to be here within the next 2 or 3 weeks, maybe, hopefully. Just wanted to mention real quick, if you're thinking about getting a Razor, be planning on ordering it, because you will probably not be able to find one, and you will probably have to order the unit that you want to get it in stock. I don't know if it's a COVID thing or shipping thing or materials thing. They're in pretty short supply right now. I think I'm going to have about probably close to a 4-week wait. Order mine, 1st of February, and probably not going to see it till maybe the 10th of March, maybe later. I think the latest that they said was March 25th. If it comes March 25th, that's going to be really close to riding season. My local park opens up on the 15th, and I'll try to do a video before then, but I have a pile of parts, including this radio, the winch that you've already seen in the review, to get on that thing. So it's going to be a really busy early spring project to get that thing outfitted, but it should be a lot of fun, and should get a lot of video out of it, and hopefully it helps a bunch of folks out. Like I say, I highly recommend this for just off-roading in general. or vehicle-to-vehicle conversations, like if you're going on a trip or something. I think this is probably the #1 radio to have for that type of operation. It's simple to install, and basically everything comes in the box, especially if you're looking for a temporary install. Anyway, well, I thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Be sure to like and subscribe. If you know somebody that'll help, this will help out. Give it a share. Let them check this radio out. Thanks.